Hello and welcome to the Thursday talk show from the Gwentlemen. As always, I am Dale the White Wolf, joined by Swim. Today we have Graves from the Gwentlemen as well as our extra special guest for you guys today, Merchant.
Hello.
I should everything. Okay. So, man, it has been one heck of a week. We have quite a bit to talk to. Talk to people about, like, just stuff. We've got so much. So we're going to go ahead and start off with, I think, the topic that's been on everybody's mind now for a little bit. And it's all these people coming from Hearthstone over to Gwent. We've got Life Coach, obviously has been just such a huge impact on the scene, bringing in all of his viewers and all of his followers to expose them to Gwent. We have... somebody's got some mic issues. Not sure who.
I think it's.
I think it's Graves.
Not again.
What? I have mic issues again. What's it now?
It sounded like some fabric was rubbing up against you.
Oh yeah, I have a shirt string.
Such a weird way of putting it.
What? I don't know.
Rubbing up against you. Sounds like you're being spooned by a towel.
Oh, dude.
But no, so
yeah.
we've had Life Coach, we've had Zizo? I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly. Somebody's gonna
Zixo?
Zixo?
I don't know. I'm gonna say Zixo.
I was gonna say I'm going to get royally screwed by the chat. It's just like, how dare you? I'm like, my bad. But Noxious as well. Noxious has actually been here for a little bit, but I think he's taking another look at Gwent.
Yeah,
so.
Noxious is a cool guy. He's been in my stream chat for quite a while. I actually met him originally when he watched me playing Chronicle, and then then he sort of reappeared when I was streaming Gwent. And he was like, "Holy shit, you're alive!" And I've been chatting to him a little bit. He's a really cool guy, Noxious. He's a great streamer as well, of course.
Oh yeah. But no, so we have all these people transitioning over, at least trying out the game for a little bit, and I think this is now the first, what for me, what this really represents, this is the first wave of people, Life Coach especially, who switched over. They wanted to try Gwent. We've seen them before, right? We've had people, like, every now and then switch over, want to try Gwent, and then they leave. But this is now, I think, day 9, day 10 of Life Coach still streaming Gwent, sticking around. So I think we're starting to see people take it a little more seriously and see them taking it towards this idea where it's like, hey, maybe I want to keep playing this game. Merchant, you seem to have just a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's fantastic. I mean, organic reach is. I guess this is coming from a bit more of maybe a place of having experience of this in the industry. Like, it's kind of weird the fact that I've actually worked on marketing a card game before, but like, organic reach like this is invaluable. It's one of the best things you can get, and to have somebody on the scale of somebody like Life Coach coming over is fantastic. I mean, I imagine that you guys have seen it as well. Obviously, I only really look at my own numbers, but the influx, especially on my YouTube, has been preposterous in the last like 4 or 5 days since he started doing it seriously. It seems like there's a lot of people actually getting invested, which is the nice thing. Because, like you said, quite often so many people, come along and kind of go, "Oh, people are interested in Gwent. I'll stream it for 2 hours and then go away forever." But the fact that people actually seem to be getting like actually invested, like I've had a lot of comments like, "Oh, I was looking up Gwent YouTubers and I found this and stuff," is really reassuring. It's fantastic, especially for in closed beta. It's ridiculous. Like, it's really, really cool to see for sure.
Well, I think that is
Leak
the
the
thing.
numbers. I think in the last 4 days, I've got just under 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah, I've got 800 subscribers in the last 4 days from Life Coach people.
But I think that's
So not too bad.
that we've seen is just definitely more people coming from Life Coach, and man, I had a train of thought and I lost it. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to Graves.
Okay, so it's obviously a great thing. We've got a lot more people, a lot of fresh faces. I mean, there's, as Merchant has said, there's new streamers, there's new people on Reddit, there's new people on Discord channel. He had a lot of new subscribers. We've had like multiple times as many view on our website in the last couple of days as we've had before, and it's just been amazing, really. I don't know. There's really not a lot of negative things one could say about it. and I just can't wait to see this game grow even more.
Somebody in the chat said Gwent fills the hole left by RuneScape Chronicle. That's actually the card game I made, so that's weird. But yeah, it's fantastic to see. It's so good. Like, and you know, this is with what, one or two like major people sort of giving it a go. You got to imagine, like, when Open starts actually getting publicized, what's going to happen? Like, it's very, very promising for the future, for sure.
That was my train of thought. There we go. Thanks for you got me back onto it. But you mentioned this is closed beta. This is a closed beta. This is not open to everybody. I mean, they're giving away keys left and right now. I believe that GwentTP currently may or may not still have keys available, but they've had like 4 waves of the multiple thousands. And so we're seeing this in the closed beta. I am concerned when the floodgates open of open beta, because I think their servers.
It's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy because, like, the interesting thing is, you know, I can't remember what I said that point on something. Maybe it was Commander's Horn or something. But I said, you know, like, yeah, they've been giving away thousands and thousands of keys, but never underestimate how lazy people are. Like, you seriously, like, people will be like, "Oh, when's open beta?" And I'm like, "Oh, look, you can click this button, get a key, and play now." And they're like, and like every time you add an extra step somebody has to go through to play, like the percentage of people who actually do it goes down. So this is with people having to take effort to play the game. As soon as they can just hit that download button and immediately play, it's just going to blow up like ridiculously. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Clicks buttons in 2017.
Yeah, it really is that though.
You know, I think we all kind of knew it was going to happen, but it's a surprise that it happened like now. I think nobody really expected, like, you know, last week for it to be like this now. Everyone was kind of thinking that this would happen maybe like a month from now, or maybe open beta whenever that is. But I don't know. It really, really is a big change, and like everyone already said, like it's a really great thing. The game's getting a lot of exposure.
Yeah, 100%.
But so regarding the transition, I just hope that, me personally, I'm just hoping that they stay, because I mean, if they want to leave after, like, I mean, people switch games all the time, right? You know, you can't ever expect somebody to be like, "Man, I'm expecting you to play this now and stream this for the next 3 years or so." That doesn't happen. So as long as they stay around longer, this is, I think, the longest that we've seen anybody stay around. So I'm glad that they're here, and I hope that they enjoy the game as much as we have been.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's going to be a real retention test, and I'm sure they're actually going to get a load of useful data from it. So, like, in the industry, the average is, so when somebody plays a game, the next day, 40% of people will keep playing. After 7 days, 20% of people will keep playing. And at 30 days, 10% of people who tried the game will play the game again. So if they can even get anywhere close to that, it's still a huge influx of people to carry on up till open beta. So yeah, it's really good. I just hope open beta is soon, because I don't want to see the momentum diminish too much. Like, that's my only real concern right now, is there's still no word on when open is, but I'm sure we'll learn in the future. Somebody's getting a text, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, just too many audio issues today. Nope, I think we're good though. Okay. Well, with that being said, I think we've talked quite a bit about the transitioning for Hearthstone players. So if you are new to if you're coming from Hearthstone, there are plenty of available resources to you. I highly recommend. I believe Merchant has been having a beginner's guide series that you can check out on his YouTube. Just search for Merchant on YouTube. But
I can't promise they're good, but they're there. So like and subscribe.
But we're gonna go ahead.
Yeah, there's all sorts of good beginner content. Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say loads of people have good beginner content. Just look at everybody's.
We're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic of discussion. So last week, we introduced a new thing for the talk show that we wanted to kind of we'll put some feelers out, and we got some good responses, I think. And that was, we want your custom cards, your ideas for Gwent, because we want to be like, hey, this cool, like, this design of a card, we want to see them, because we want to, I mean, we're card game players. We like seeing these things, and we want to comment on them and discuss them. And So we did get some...
And rip them apart.
Well, if they need to be. But no, it's really cool because you have all these people who are playing the game and have their own ideas for this, and they might not get that much exposure for their ideas, and this is a chance for us to like look at them. Like we wouldn't have been able to get a chance to see these otherwise. So let's go ahead and hopefully I have this set up correctly in order to have this work. Nice. But
Ooh, are you pulling them up?
we are going to actually have them on the stream. So,
Ooh.
yep. Here is our first one that we're going to be discussing is Eridan Commander. This was sent in, I believe, by our very own Ruben. And that is his effect. He's a 1 strength gold. Consume non-gold units to the left. I'm not sure if that non-gold unit to the left, 1 unit or multiple. We can discuss that. And deal damage equal to the amount absorbed to target unit. So
interesting that he's melee only, to me.
Very true. Well, it makes sense. He's a Eridan commander. It's just a Eridan, except he got off the horse.
Yeah, he's got to stand at the front and point. If he's standing at the back and pointing, nobody will see where he's pointing. So he's got to stand at the front and point, because otherwise it wouldn't work. So it makes sense. However, I like the card. Like, I genuinely do like this. It does seem powerful, I'll put it that way, because I'm assuming it can target gold cards with how the text is done. It just says target units.
Yep. I would agree with you, probably targeting golds.
My problem with this is, it seems like... So if you look at this card on a base level, you're like, oh, I'm going to put it down to my next big consume unit and nuke something off the board. When actually you're not. You're going to put it down to, like... You're going to put it down next to, like, a Wild Hunt Warrior and use it to kill Yen Conjurer or Ciri or something like that. So it's basically just a gold Alza's Lightning. Or Thunder. I always get that card mixed up. I always want to say Lightning Bolt. Alza's Thunder. It's basically that. Like, I don't think you're going to use it for killing anything too big. It's just a gold removal card. Which is pretty damn good. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. And it can also, I mean, I feel like it would function as that, but it would also be... It can be used for different things. I mean, consume monsters can get very big. Like, you can have some Ekimaras at, like, 20 strength. So it can also like damage some big things and counter some strategies with like big buffed adrenaline units and stuff like that, or even other consume in the mirror. You get to damage their keep if they're looking to keep something very. I
almost think the card would be nicer if Eridan didn't get the strength and it was just like a removal trade. I think with him getting the strength as well, it's probably too strong. Because you're locking in that to a gold card as well. Which basically means you're forcing a D-bomb or shackles if you want them to be controlled by weather.
Yeah.
And I think the power to remove anything, because let's be honest, like the thing this would be best for is killing stuff like Ciri, where you just deny them completely the use of one of their gold cards. Yeah. Or Bork as well. Like, this would be insane in the Northern Realms matchup. But I think him getting the strength as well probably makes the card a little too strong. But I really like the theme of the card, for sure.
It's a really cool idea, honestly.
I would like, genuinely, I'd like to see this as a card. So.
Now, one of the things I really like about it is, with the upcoming, we know there's a positioning patch coming, so it's specifically the units to the left of it. So currently, I mean, everything gets played onto the right, so it would just be your last play card. But with the upcoming positioning patch, you'd have to be a little bit more flexible to be able to choose which unit you wanted to do this consume on.
I mean, worst case, you could just play it similar to how Vilgefortz is played right now. You play it with Roach, and you get a 4 strength, 4 damage unit. And that's literally the worst case scenario. Pairing it with pretty much any consume or weather monster deck, this card is bonkers. Like, I think it's extremely strong. It's golden removal and basically saving one of your cards' strength into a golden stick. It's too good. Definitely too good.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see it keep the strength. I'd want to see it just do the damage, I think.
I'd be interested to see it keep the strength, but actually change from golden removal to just normal removal.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That'd be good. It would change it. Would it be good enough then, though? Like, if you can't use it to snipe things like Bork, Ciri, Yen, whatever, like... And it's a
It
gold
is.
slot. Would it be good enough? I don't think it would be, personally.
I think it would be as long as it's consuming the strength and keeping the strength on it, and maybe turn that into base strength on it as well, and just go ahead and give it the. Once
Yeah.
it goes back to the graveyard, it goes back to 1, so you're not trying to get renewed chains off on this thing. But no,
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool idea because, I mean, at a minimum, it's basically... I think if you leave it as gold strength and take away the the strength from the unit that it consumes, it does turn into, like... It's really only a 1-point play on the board, but it allows you to specifically target units that are giving you trouble, like Villain Mirth or like Siri, and it just allows you to transfer that strength over. And you're probably not ever going to find those totally clean strength transfers either, where you have an exactly 6 strength unit that you're able to consume and do the damage to, Siri for an instance. But I don't know, it could be a lot of fun. I think it's a really cool card. I think it's a really well designed card overall. I really like the idea of the card, and I agree with Merchant. It's a card that I would like to see, and I'd like to play with.
I think it's a strong example because I'm actually just gonna get asked about it all the fucking time. Like, I'm actually gonna make a video talking just about what I think about the upcoming positioning stuff. If Ruben's alright with it, I'm actually nick this and use it as an example of a cool way it could be used because I actually quite like it. Yeah, there's some stuff to figure out, but cool card, definitely. Nice design, for sure.
Yep. So let's go ahead and pull up the next one, which is going to be Geralt Axii. So this is following the theme of the Geralt having the signed cards. So Geralt Axii, I think it might be a little too wordy for my liking. You know what? I think we had a complaint that this was a little bit too difficult to read, so I'm going to try and pull it up. Magic Stream stuff. Make this easier to read for you guys.
How many of these like signs are there anyway?
5.
There's
Forget
2
that you
more, I
never played
think.
The Witcher.
Yeah.
5. They're like elemental magics, basically.
Sort of. But no, so Geralt Axii, take control of 2 enemy bronze units. So they got some bronze units over there, you take them, you steal it. And you give them resilience for a round. So you'd steal their units, you give them an adrenaline rush. And then at the start of the next round, you give them back. So you're stealing their units for a little bit, you're like, hey, I need, those 2 units to help me win this round. But then I'm giving them right back to you for next round, so they're still your units. You're still going to be able to keep them around for at least that second round.
My problem with this card is, though, like, everything past units is irrelevant, and it would just be played round 3 to take control of 2 enemy bronze units. Like,
Yeah.
it would just be the best round 3 card in the game. Like, nothing else on the card is relevant. All you do is just...
Yep.
All you do is get 1 card advantage, play this card last, win game, basically.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we do not need any more cards that do that in the game. So.
And the having 1 card advantage is only necessary because everybody would be running this card in their decks. So you want to use it last.
I didn't even think of that. Like, you've activated my Axii card. Well, you've. It'd be ridiculous. Yeah, this card is just bustedly powerful, in my opinion. I'm not really a fan of like stealing units off the board. I feel like if that does happen, it should be a Nilfgaard thing with some sort of bribery to at least make it make sense. The thought of stealing units being on a neutral card is terrifying.
Yeah.
In my...
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Succubus is faction locked. It has a timer, and it is a disloyal card. All 3 of those things. This has none of those. Also,
yeah, I think. Yeah, the thought of stealing units being on a good neutral at that is spooky.
And real quick, just to clarify, this is a new segment of custom cards, not actual cards sent in by the viewers. So, just to clarify, these are not real cards. They're just ideas for cards that we wanted to get from you guys so that we could discuss them. And like we had the first one that we discussed, now this is the second one we're discussing. We want these types of discussions around these cards. So
it's gonna be
clarify.
It's gonna be like War of the Worlds. People are gonna tune in and think that these are real cards.
Immediately top of the Reddit. Gwentlemen reveal new Geralt card.
Oh, hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I definitely agree. It's one of those cards that I like the idea behind it. It's really cool. But then you take round 3 into account. And you're just like, oh, wait a second. That's not going to work. Because even trying to like make it work and like slap a timer on it or something where it's like after X amount of turns it goes back instead of being at the end of the round, that doesn't work either because you're still just playing it towards the end because of the nature of Gwent with card advantage. So I like the idea, but it would need some heavy refinement, especially for any round 3 potential. Graves, your thoughts on it?
Even in round 2, this card is too strong. I mean, whenever you use it, you gain control of 2 enemy units. That means you can do a lot of stuff with those units. I mean, there is just no way a card like this would ever be released. Simply, the power level is just off the charts. Worst case, again, you would play this round 1, take control of 2 bronze units, so you would temporarily gain 16 on average
35
strength.
Total.
And assuming you wouldn't do anything like lock them, consume them, anything else, you would just give them back to the opponent next round.
God. You could consume, couldn't you? Oh my god.
It's there's so many things here. Like, even if you would play this on the opponent's side, give it strength, and as I said, numbers, if you would keep the design exactly the same, the numbers would have to be completely changed, and it definitely would have to be played on the opponent's side.
Yeah, there would need to be a 1 in front of that 3, and it would need to be disloyal, and even then it would be OP.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next one. More Geralt stuff. It is actually Geralt Swordmaster. Let's try and make sure this gets loaded up correctly. Again, this is a custom card, unique idea, not a real card. Not a real one. It's a fake card. We're just discussing the idea of the card. So, Geralt Swordmaster starts off as a 9 strength gold, and every turn at the start of your turn, lose 3 strength and destroy the weakest units on your opponent's side. So basically, assuming that you have no way of buffing him because he's going to be a 9 strength gold, and golds are typically a little bit more difficult to buff, he's going to basically be 3 epidemics on a stick.
Geralt
This
for
is
better.
really strong.
I mean, it's kind of the opposite Borg, and it's not for every deck, but most of the decks would have quite an easy way of playing into this. It's like Epidemic, except you see it coming, and the opponent trades a gold unit that's definitely going to die to it.
Problem is, again, round 3, it's completely insane.
Meat grinder.
That's the problem with so many like crazy gold cards. Are just like when you apply them to round 3, when each person's playing with like 3 or 4 units, it's just spooky. I mean, this guy would be very powerful then, in my opinion.
He would basically have to remove units from both sides, and I think it would be
I don't really
fun.
like one-sided stuff as it is. Like even Shiru, I think, is ridiculous. But yeah, I like symmetric effects in Gwent. When they turn them asymmetric, I think it just feels forced, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the numbers here might have to be tweaked a bit, but I think the card is really interesting in design, and I would love to see something like that.
Yeah, I do like the design of the card for sure. I like ticking effects; they're also fun. So
It's pretty cool. It's like a cross between a clock effect, like on a timer, and also one that activates every turn, because it only has a finite amount of times that it can go off. And in theory, in the future, you could also have like some way of buffing this.
And once again, this is not a new card. This is a custom card sent. And I've got it. I know we have people coming in and out of chat, so I just want to make that as clear as possible every time.
You should just. So at the moment with this card, what you could do is you could shackles it and then swallow potion it, and it would just nuke their entire side.
You should put a disclaimer somewhere.
Yeah, you probably should.
The swallow potion gives it 12.
Yes, it'd be 21 fire 7 times.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's probably a bit too much.
That seems to be a recurring theme here.
Quite possibly. All right.
Very interesting ideas, though.
Girl is a Witcher.
I
Yes.
that's what we were looking for, was to try and get these ideas that, you know, I like seeing these things because they're stuff that I would have never thought of. So being able to have somebody come up with this and be like, hey, like, what about this? I'm like, all right, well, cool. Like, let's discuss its merits, and I think that's pretty cool. All right, so
I
hopefully,
agree.
there we have a nice disclaimer. Now, let's go ahead and move on to our next one, which is again from Ruben. Actually, maybe next time just had a sign as an overlay saying something like custom. Yeah, we've got it fixed now. It just took us a little bit. My apologies. But this one is the Siege Scout. I find it a little odd that he doesn't have like Kid Winnie or Blue Stripes or anything in front of his name. That just, I don't know, seems off. But a 4-strength bronze Northern Realms card. Play the top machine unit out of your deck.
See, I feel like if Northern Realms gets this, Nilfgaard should get it too. So for that reason, I'd probably want to see it be a neutral. But I don't know how you do that lore-wise.
It works with Skellige too, with the ships. As well.
Yeah. Actually, I'd quite like to see a neutral that does this if they're going to go down tribal playstyles, because they've sort of been tagging everything up, you know, with like elves and machines and stuff, but not doing anything with it yet, except in some very rare cases.
I think we have seen some elf synergy come out.
Yeah, we've seen a couple. That's what I mean. There's not like whole decks. There's Ice and Grim, sure, but that's specifically neophytes with Elias. But yeah, I'd like to see more tribal stuff. I really like tribal play, especially in Magic. So yeah, like I'd like this to be neutral. I know it doesn't fit lore-wise, but change it. Call it Trebuchet Wheel.
Yeah. No, I agree. It'd be actually really cool as a neutral card. You know, it says play the top unit, so you could have some synergies with Nilfgaard's whatever they do there, and it also doesn't say non-gold, so you could pull out a Wild Boar of the Sea with it.
and then forfeit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like too strong.
It's way too strong.
Like, it's a tutor. It's somewhere between a tutor and a thinner. So it's like, I will not remember if it's either ambassador. No, it's the emissary, right?
Emissary is the one.
Yeah. They're 2 strength. They can pull anything. So you don't actually know what you're pulling, and they're played on the opponent's side. And this is 4 strength. You know what you're pulling, and it gives you strength. I mean, this realistically is 11 strength bronze. No, wait, 12. It's the minimum, right? 4 plus 3. It's 5 plus 3. It's 5 plus 3. It's really, really too strong. Even as a silver, it would probably be. Actually, as a silver, it might work.
I mean,
maybe.
yeah.
I think as a silver, that would be pretty terrible if it just played top machine of your deck.
Well, it'd be like King of Beggars.
It'd be like King of Beggars.
Your King of Beggars is the weakest, though, isn't it? So you can put anything in your deck and it works with that. It works with, like, the reason King of Beggars is so good is because it works with cards like Priscilla, where it's just nuts as a thinner. Like, this only playing machines, what machines are you going to get out that are going to be that powerful?
Just the thing, it could. I mean, if Wild Boar of the Seas gets redesigned, or if we actually see some more interesting machines, this card is too strong. Like, it limits design potential in a way that King of Banger does as well, to a certain extent.
Yeah. I do think, like, the problem is, though, for tribal stuff to work, tutors basically need to exist. Like, you can't really have one without the other, because otherwise they're just so inconsistent that they don't work. You either need things spawning machines, or whatever tribe it is, or drawing them directly out of your deck and playing them. So we do need stuff like this. I agree this card would be very powerful, but, you know, generally tribal cards do tend to be a little bit more powerful than non-tribal ones because they confine you so much to playing that archetype. The problem with machines right now is that there are so many good general machines like Ballista, obviously Mangonels are more niche, but basically Ballista with Northern Realms is the problematic one. So if the machines themselves were more interdependent, this card would be fine. The fact that this would be good in a deck that doesn't focus around machines is the problem, in my opinion. Like, if they actually reinforced tribal play, these cards would be necessary.
What if we took off the strength in the body and just made it a special?
Yeah, that's
It's still fine. That's still
yeah. But the problem is, then
Yeah.
you add it to Temerian foot soldiers and whatnot, and then you've got a dangerous amount of thinning happening again, and that's something we've seen come up time and time again already. That's a tough one.
Yep. Definitely like the idea of the card. Definitely like the idea of just ignoring the body, ignoring everything else about the card, but being able to just pull machines out of your deck and be able to play them. The machines are going to need something. We have the machine tag now. What direction that archetype goes into, we'll see.
What if he had a 1-turn timer, so he knew it was coming, like he was building a machine and then it spawned a machine?
That'd be cool. I mean,
do we have any card that can time off and pull an effect? I mean, you understand? It goes off, it pulls in a card, and that effect goes off at the start of a turn.
Yeah, that's
like a targeted effect. Yeah, Ballista.
Ballista's the only one that I can think of.
Okay.
And Trebuchet.
Yeah, Ballista, Trebuchet, and Fire Scorpion are the ones that would work.
That could be like a little awkward from an interface standpoint. I like the idea of a timer though, because I mean, when you look at tutors are balanced around various things. Like Elven Mercenary tutors a random card if it pulls a random spell from your deck, which is First Light. So you're using a lot of RNG there. If you look at old Reaver Scout or new Reaver Scout as well, you're incurring a huge risk that, I mean, you're choosing what you're getting, but at the same time, there's a very substantial risk that you're not going to be able to hit anything with it, and it's going to be 2 power bronze. And then there's also the Ambassador, which gives them power reliably instead of you. So I do feel like this should have some kind of balancing factor, and a timer could work kind of well.
All right, well, we do have another custom card to get to, so let's go ahead and do that. So our next one is... what's on the list? Actually, is our last one to get to as well. So, Witcher's Path. And I like... it's a gold special. I'm actually quite a fan of this. Play a Witcher of your choice from your deck or graveyard.
Or graveyard.
Or graveyard.
Jeez.
So... kind of like I like it mostly because I haven't seen a lot of gold specials. We have Ragnar Rook and Renew.
So, and Assassination.
I did forget about that.
And Becker's Twisted Mirror.
Okay, okay, we have some gold specials, but I like having gold specials. I want to have more. So
this is basically an Iglace for Igni.
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, would it ever be played on anything else?
Well, you could take a vanilla Geralt in like a Northern Realms deck. You could use D-Shackles on him. You could Marjo him a few times. You could promote him back up.
I mean, this is a tutor. It's a pretty nice card.
Swim, you are creative.
Can we steal one of the? Let's steal Vesemir with a Griffin, and then play him, and then play the rest of our Witchers.
Yeah, just mulligan all your... Yeah, you're like, oh, great, I'm playing Monsters, Witchers, I've got my Witcher's Path in my hand, let me just mulligan away all my Witchers in case they play Witcher.
It would work pretty sweet with Giant Toad, because you could eat a Witcher and then play them from the graveyard, but...
Oh!
Might as well just play the Witchers and eat something else.
Yeah.
But, this is... let's be honest, this is... double Igni. When you're looking at it that way, you might as well run Renew.
Yeah, and this card would only exist in a universe where Geralt Axii and Geralt Swordmaster also existed, in terms of like seeing competitive play.
Swordmaster existed.
Yeah, you just play Axii and they're like, drat, and then you went around and then you just do the Witch's Path and steal the same units again.
Having said that though, it would be okay for things like, I'm probably going to get slayed here, but is Orcs a Witcher?
Yes.
So you could replay him if you needed an emergency lock. I mean, it wouldn't be terrible, but it would be a worse Renew as it stands, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's basically Renew, but with a little bit more flexibility based around the Witcher tribe. So, again, I like it mostly because it's giving you this option of... I like it because it's tribal. That's basically really...
Yeah.
Me too.
It-
Yeah. That's good. I like
Yeah.
tribal.
It honestly
feel
could
like
be
they
legitimate if there were just more Witchers, like a lot.
I feel like honestly, there's a part of me that almost wonders if they missed out on not making Witches a faction, because like you could easily bullshit it by having bronze cards that were like students and training and shit like that. Like I don't know. Part of me wishes there was a Witcher faction that was tribal, just because that'd be so cool. There needs to be a tribal faction. There's not one at the moment.
Which I brought up a important fact. This thing can tutor for a Witcher, so in a way, it's better than Renew when it comes to Witcher specifically. Because in last round, assuming you haven't drawn any Goldens, or in round 1 or 2, if you really need that Witcher, it serves as a tutor instead of a revive.
Yeah, but the problem is that's better in 5% of the situations. It's fun. What do you think of it as a silver?
Too strong.
Yeah.
I think if
Pretty
it was
much.
just from your deck, play Witcher from your deck, not from the graveyard as a silver, maybe.
Or if it was a
addition of
non-gold
the-
Witcher, maybe.
Yeah, the addition of the
Yeah.
graveyard res definitely stands out as probably one of the stronger aspects of the card.
Hmm.
And actually, coming from the card creator himself, the card really only makes sense if the Golden Vesemir, Eskel, and Lambert cards I also submitted would be in the game. We did get those, don't worry. I just pulled not all of them because we do need to have more. This isn't the only segment. It's not just, hey, it's the Gwentlemen Talkshow with a bunch of custom cards. So I had to make an executive decision and only choose some specific ones. So I apologize for not being able to get to all of them, but hopefully we'll get some more in next week as well. But that is the last of our custom cards, and it seems that we lost Swim. Rip.
Oh well, we have chair stream now. So we're fine. Is
That's-
Swim streaming in a garage? Why is there a fridge behind him?
You don't have a fridge and easy access? Like, to you, I just...
I don't. I've got a bathtub apparently, but that's the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic of discussion, and it's actually going to be dealing specifically with you, Merchant. So I got a chance.
Well, that sounds interesting.
I got a chance to see the YouTube video you put out the other day, but Merchant taking the plunge, deciding, hey, content creation, YouTube streams, playing video games. This is what I want to do as a living. So
Yeah. It really boils down to the fact that I think I said it in the video as well. I was just like, it's got to the point where, thankfully, because of like some of the absolutely sick support I get, especially on my stream, I'm like nearing like 300 subs and stuff now, which is awesome. But yeah, it just got to the point where I was making like a comparable amount to my job anyway, and that was spending like 15 or 18 hours a week working on my Gwent stuff. And then I was kind of like, yeah, I feel like spending 50 hours a week instead. So, yeah, it's just a thing. It's something that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. So, I kind of thought if I don't do it, I'm just going to spend the next 10 years wondering if I had tried to do it properly. And I can't be fucked with that. So, I'd rather do what I want and be happy. I don't really care about money as long as I can eat food. It's pretty much what I care about. So... Yeah, no, I'm very excited though. I start on the 17th as doing full-time stream.
Oh, that was too punny. Can't wait for the merch and dice.
Oh mate, I get so many jokes on that. Like, can I buy a T-shirt just because then I could call it my merch? And I was like, please no. I mean, yes, give me your money, but no.
But no, I think it's so cool to be able to see this happen from, somebody who has been a part of the Gwent community as much as you have, and I for one am really looking forward to seeing what you do with your channel, what you do with everything, because I've been seeing you dabble in a couple of other games, not Gwent. What is this madness?
Please don't be referring to contradiction if you see my streams of that. Oh man, I stream some random shit. But yeah, yeah, no, it's fantastic. Like I say, it's all happening because of the amazing support I get on my stream. So. Thank you to anybody who watches my stream here. And if you don't, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. But no, yeah, I'm very, very excited. Obviously, it's absolutely terrifying, but that's kind of what I wanted. So, want some risk back, Don't done with an office job. Time to go bloody mental, basically. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited. So.
All right. Well, best of luck to you, Merchant, from all of us here. I mean, we would love to see you succeed, and I very much hope that you do.
Thank
So,
you.
if you have not checked out Merchants, you can check them out at twitch.tv/rsmerchant. Also, I believe it's just youtube.com/rsmerchant, or do you have a custom URL?
No, it's youtube.com/c/merchant TV. Or you can just search Gwent Merchant, and I'm pretty sure I'll come up.
Definitely check him out, guys.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, on to our next topic of discussion. We're going to be going and bringing back up the Gwentlemen's Open and Gwentlemen's League. So, for those who are unaware, we do have a lot of new people, and we do want to try and make this as new person friendly as possible to get into this sort of thing. The Gwentlemen's Open is a competitive tournament that is open to everybody. We just want everybody to hop in and have some fun and get their feet wet with the tournament scene of Gwent. And with the Gwentlemen's Open, we've had in January was our inaugural tournament. We just finished up one in February, and because of that, we're like, okay, well, we'll slow it down a little bit, try and get back on our feet, get prepared, and have a month off, and have the Gwentlemen's Open again in April. But we're not doing that anymore. We have been seeing so much enthusiasm from the community for this type of tournament scene that we will be having a Gwentlemen's Open this month in March. So just a nice announcement for you guys there, quick heads up. So if you are interested at all with the Gwentlemen's Open, getting into the tournament scene of Gwent, it's a great opportunity to go ahead and get your feet wet.
Is there a date yet?
Graves,
Yes.
I believe. Oh, Twim.
Yeah, it's the 25th. 25th and 26th. It'll take place over 2 days.
Sick. Nice.
Right. And we do have the Gwentlemen's League this month. This month as well, and I will let Graves go ahead and handle that because he is the main person in charge of the league. So, Graves, take it away.
Yeah, so most of you probably know there's been the Gwentlemen Invitational Tournament. I think it was last weekend. I'm pretty sure it was last weekend. And it was sort of like an inauguration tournament to the league that's going to be opening sometime in March. We don't know exactly when. And you probably know that our very own Gungam Facepunch has won the tournament in the finals. A lot of you have been using his Consume Monster deck list on the ladder. We said that the league is starting in about 2 to 3 weeks, and it's going to be fun. So the exact numbers I'm going to use in this presentation are not the numbers that are necessarily going to be used in the actual tournament. But with the tournament, we found the champion and the 7 Vanguard that are gonna be at the top of the league at the start. And everyone else who's gonna join in is gonna start at the rank of a challenger. In order to be promoted further, you're gonna have to acquire a certain amount of points. You are gonna do that by winning games within the league, so against other people of the same rank as you are. And if you win a game, you're gonna get a point. If you're gonna lose a game, you're gonna lose a point. Pretty normal. And once you've acquired, let's say it's probably gonna be 3 points, you're gonna be able to challenge a Vanguard. And the game is gonna be a best of 5. It's gonna have to be recorded, and it's gonna be casted at a certain point later that week. And if you defeat a Vanguard, he drops to a rank lower, and you advance a rank to take his position. And now, the Vanguards aren't just going to be sitting around waiting to be challenged. They're going to be able to play games between each other as well. So Vanguards are going to have to acquire a bit more points in order to challenge a champion. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, they're going to have to get 5 points. And if they do, they're going to face the champion in the best of 5 series as well. Now, Obviously, champion's gonna get pretty sweet rewards. Doesn't matter if he's crowned mid-season, if he's crowned at the end. Champions are gonna be rewarded pretty nicely. And then at the end of a season, which is gonna last for 2 months, there's going to be another tournament. We don't know exactly how many people are going to be invited to it, but it's probably going to be the top 32. Yeah, Gunga, you're just going to wait until someone challenges you. Anyway, at the end of the season, there's going to be the tournament, which is going to work similar to how TGI worked last week, except it's going to be double elimination instead of a single elimination. And the winner of the tournament is going to get an additional chance to challenge the champion. If he wins, he's going to become the champion for the next season. It's pretty much it. There's going to be more details and the exact rule list, the way to apply for the league. Everything is going to be known in the next week or so. But if you have any questions or suggestions, you can just send it to either my email, to let us know on Discord, anything like that.
It sounds awesome. I'm very much looking forward to it. No, I am one of the Vanguard, I believe, so I'm looking forward to it a little bit even more.
That does sound pretty sick. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. That sounds awesome.
All right, so on to our next topic of discussion. We, as a team Gwentlemen, just yesterday morning, Tuesday morning, I'm not getting enough sleep. So we, earlier this week, we'll say, released our meta snapshot, and that is something that we want to be doing more often. And it's basically, you can check it out over at Gwentlemen.com, and it is our listing of decks, archetypes, and the tiers that they're going into. So, like, your tier 1 decks will typically win you most of the matches that you encounter while you're playing ladder. This is only for the ladder. Tier 1 decks will mostly win against Tier 2 and lower decks. Tier 2 decks can have some good matchups against Tier 1 decks occasionally, but there's typically something holding them back. And Tier 3 decks are what we're classifying as basically everything else. But Swim, I believe that you had quite a bit of say into which decks went into which tiers. Do you want to discuss a little bit more on that?
Moi?
Yes.
I never finalized the results. I did like the first draft of it, basically.
I assume below tier 3 there's the wild meme of the sea tier.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a fourth undisclosed tier.
And one thing is Graves' fabric rubbing up against him again?
Yeah, it seems to be.
What?
There's a little bit of rubbing.
Graves, could you please stop rubbing yourself on Skype? Thank you.
It's gonna be hard. I'm gonna do my best. I mean, Swim was flexing back there. Gets me going.
But the idea behind the meta snapshot, so I will steer us in the right course. But no, the idea behind it... Jesus. Okay, well, I'm not going to steer us in the right course. The idea behind the meta snapshot is to simply give you, the newer player or experienced player, an opportunity to see what decks are out there. You're able to check out and see, okay, this is, a deck that is considered good, and for these reasons. This is a deck that maybe isn't considered as good, but we want to be providing you with the reasons on why things are placed in the tiers that they are. So it's just a chance to take a look, see what's out there, see what you're getting into for the next time that you climb onto ladder. Merchant, any thoughts on meta snapshots in general? Because I know that you've worked on card games before. You've mentioned I think they kind of come up every game that you look at.
I think they are, like you say, they're always going to happen. I think they are a good thing. I think they are a good thing as long as they are approached with the correct attitude by both the people writing them and the people reading them. Just because a deck is tier 1, it doesn't mean that you will perform better with it than a deck at tier 2, because you might be better at playing the tier 2 deck. And I think that's something that's often lost to a lot of people when they read these things. I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm starting to do... Well, I'm currently editing a video where I've done something. I haven't done like a meta snapshot, but I'm doing like tiers of certain cards. So I'm ranking like, Northern Realms gold cards ranked and shit like that, and like I'm doing like a leader tier list and stuff, which is fun. But yeah, I just preface every single one with like, this is my opinion. You might disagree, because otherwise people don't seem to quite understand that and seem to think that I'm claiming some sort of objective truth. But yeah, I think they're a good thing, and actually, I think you guys, of anybody, I think you guys will do a very good job doing them. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I genuinely, I haven't seen anything of what these guys are doing on it. I'm curious to see where you put stuff, and I'll probably actually do a video reviewing where you've put stuff.
Uh-oh.
So good luck with that.
I will be definitely looking forward to that. Graves, your thoughts on the meta snapshots and just meta snapshots in general?
My thoughts on them. Well, I think they're cool. I mean, they help those players that are not good at deck building, and there's a lot of them. I'm not super great at it either. You get a general idea as to how the meta looks like, what you can do. Then you take a deck, play with it a bit, tinker with it, tune it, get places. I think it's a good thing.
That's Mike issues. I'm sorry. They're cracking me up.
They're getting quite rhythmic. They're amazing.
Yeah, that one sounded like a washing machine to me.
It was
Wait,
like
it's
a
actually
horse
still
galloping. It was
rubbing?
beautiful.
I'm gonna hold it in front of me now.
Just balance it on your upper lip like that. Do it like that, then it won't rub on anything.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
gonna get all the mustache at that point, though. It's
I have really small lips. Nothing to them.
But I believe that we actually just linked it to the meta snapshot in the chat, so you can check it out there. But you can also check it out over at Gwentlemen.com. And I will preface this with the exact same thing that Merchant did. This is our take on the meta snapshot, where we think that decks are placed at currently. You may completely disagree, and you may have completely valid reasons for disagreeing, and I would love to hear them, personally. So just take
can
it
I ask
as
a question on it? So I just opened it.
Uh-oh.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
All right. What? This is probably gonna get me lynched, but why is Queensguard Skelliger in tier 4?
I believe that our reasoning for placing Queensguard Skellige that low. I thought we only went to tier 3. Well, we'll get that fixed at for the future snapshots.
See, this is probably a really good example of the whole like, it's not going to overrule your personal playing style, because like to this day I have like a 71% win rate with Queensguard at rank 15. So like, do take into account your personal play style, because that's a deck that I just have a load of practice with and I'm very comfortable playing it.
Oh, exactly.
But, yeah, like this looks good.
The biggest issues I think with Queensguard Skellige compared to the other forms of discard Skellige is you're very vulnerable to certain things that the other discard Skellige is not. So if you get your Queensguard stolen, that takes away a lot of the power in the deck, and we have not just Griffins to worry about, not just Caretakers, but also Vicovaro medics. So there's a lot of... True, yeah. As far as hatred for graveyards is concerned, you have a lot of hatred specifically for bronze cards. So
I think you're right with that. I think speaking of that, where I have a high win rate with it, it is a win rate of 2 facets. It's sort of like I have my 95% matchups, and then I have my, oh god, I'm playing against somebody who plays Vicovaro Vedic matchups. Yeah. Which doesn't go so well. So yeah, you are correct with that. Yep. But I've personally been performing pretty well with that deck.
No, exactly.
But I play it a little bit different than the standard one, I think. I think the standard one runs some stuff that I don't run.
No, that was part of our reasoning on that. So again, this is our reasoning. I mean, we are by no means infallible, and we will be making mistakes as we move forward with this. But I would love to hear feedback like that on, why is something here, and we'll try and defend ourselves for it. We may not always do it successfully, and in that case, something will change. So bear in mind that your mileage will vary, and it is a tool to use to help improve your play, and how you use that tool will determine how effective it is.
Yeah, and in the future we will move to a more data-driven process, and it will smoothen things out for sure.
Yes,
absolutely.
All right. And speaking of metas, so we're actually going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. how to break them, basically. Original decks and the advantages for using original decks. We'll go ahead and start off with Graves.
Okay, so I've mentioned earlier I'm not a great deck builder. Well, not in this meta. I have my own personal playstyle, which just doesn't work at the moment. But okay, original decks. So in order to build an original deck, you first have to have a pretty good idea why that would work. So it has to kind of work against what you're facing in the meta. For me, at the moment, that would be dwarves and deckers. Pretty much dwarves and deckers, and just a sprinkle of Skellige there. That's about it. And the thing is, it's not super easy to deck against those decks. You're really reliant on those very few answers that can win you the game. If you don't find them, then you're just kind of at a loss. I'm not saying that they're unbeatable. You can get a pretty solid win ratio against them, but you're certainly going to struggle a lot more than you would playing one of those. That's all I got on that.
All right. Well, we'll feel free to chime in later. Merchant, your thought on original decks and what's really a good reason to try and do that as opposed to just taking something off the network?
Sure. So this is something that I feel very strongly about. I think people who, so I think there's a strong balance because, like you said earlier, if you're not so good at building decks and stuff, you absolutely should look up what the best players are playing, what people have figured out. But I think you actually do yourself a disservice if you don't try to even just make little changes, or like, because I've known people personally, like my friends. Obviously, they talk to me about card games a lot, kind of like their go-to guy for obvious reasons, and they often are like, yeah, I've been playing this, but this keeps happening, and I'm like, okay, so what card counters this? Like, oh, that. I'm like, okay, so why isn't it in your deck? Oh, can I put it in? Yes, you are allowed to change the cards in the deck that you copied online, And I think you do yourself a disservice. I think you miss out on one of the most pleasurable parts of playing a card game, in my opinion, which is, of course, experimentation and building your own decks. I think there's another side to it as well. And there's a famous saying, which I'm quite fond of when it comes to this argument, which is that an amateur is dangerous in a sword fight, right? Like, if you go in and you see King Bran and you're like, discard Skellige. Lovely, I'll play as I would against a discard Skellige. And then they wild meme of the see you and drop 40 clan demons, destroying your entire board. You're surprised, and the element of surprise is a wonderful thing. So actually, you will find some success just by maybe not playing Wild Boar of the Sea, but maybe experimenting a little bit and, doing something unexpected. I always say that there's two tiers at the top, and the second one is people who have net decked and made the best decks around the meta decks. And then the top tier is the people who made those decks and have already moved on to the next evolution of them by swapping in and out some cards to counter all of the people copying the old ones. So I think there's so many advantages to making your old decks. I think that you do yourself a disservice. I think you limit your potential if you don't. And I think that with the amount of resources and really handsome YouTubers with tutorials on deck building to help you out, I think there's no excuse not to at least give it a go. There you go. That's my piece. I feel very strongly about that topic. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Patreon.com/.
Swim.
No, yeah, that's what I think.
Your take on original decks.
I
think you're known as one of the main deck builders at the moment.
Oh yeah. I've made some original decks in my day. Some of them have been maybe a little too original, but some of them are just the right amount of original. I think I completely and absolutely agree with everything Merchant just said. I think you had a lot of good points, and I think the surprise element is really important, and I think that's the surprise element kind of gets more important over time. I think basically the model that metas kind of take is that of a general like narrowing, right? So like decks and metas get more and more narrow as time goes on, and then there will be points where it just rapidly expands if something new starts getting played, and that's I think I mean, Graves was saying earlier. Graves was saying that good decks are hard to tech against. I believe. I think I'm basically quoting that right. But I think I think therein lies the problem, because people are kind of thinking too much about techs. People are kind of thinking, what are these best meta decks? How do I tech against them? They kind of can't. I mean, that's kind of why they're so good, because they're so hard to kind of counter in terms of individual tech cards. But I think that there are kind of brand new decks, just brand new entire ideas. Like, for example, in the last meta, so-called Squirtle meta, I made a deck which I called the Truer King Eridan deck. And this deck was not fundamentally a good deck, but in such a narrow meta, it was able to achieve pretty high levels of dominance.
Oh my
just
god!
because
so
it was a
funny.
brand new thing.
You mentioned True King. When I was in Poland with those guys, right? I met McBeard, and he's one of the loveliest guys. And I said to him, I was like, you seem like the nicest guy, but I've got to rag you for one thing. I just looked him square in the face and just went, "What the fuck is True King Eridan?" And he was like, "No, it's good, it's good." And I was just like, "Okay." He spent about 3 days trying to convince me that was a good deck, but yeah. It was not.
Yeah, I think that was basically all I had to say. Basically, it's important to take a step back and not just do tech, but literally look at the meta and think about what concept for a deck would counter all of the meta decks. What do dwarfs and consume have in common, and how do you counter it? And just build a deck off that idea, as opposed to just thinking tech cards, because you're really limiting yourself by doing that.
No, I definitely agree with basically every point that's been said so far. For me, card games are fundamentally an information game. So it's the information of what you have and what your deck can do, what your opponent has and what their deck can do, and how do you play around that and how do you play towards that. And when you get to these metas that become very defined, and you're like, oh, like it, as Merchant said, it's a brand deck, it's just going to be discard SK, like easy. And then they do something different. It messes with your mind, because you're like, okay, I'm expecting them to do this, and they're not doing this. Why? What are they doing? So because of that, like it's that element of surprise, and it's that element of misinformation that you're able to provide to your opponent that really makes stuff like that very strong, very powerful, to be able to do something completely unexpected. And that is just so powerful in card games. So I love seeing original decks, and I think it's one of the biggest advantages that they have, is that they are that element of surprise, it's that element of unexpectedness that can really carry them through. Just not even a card game example, but so I'm not sure if KBT's in here. I know he does, but Street Fighter 4. I'm going to take it back to that. First off, I'll preface, I suck at Street Fighter 4. I'm awful. But I can occasionally do the never ever do it wake up ultra and like get my friends that are really good at the game, and it's like, oh, Graves, stop it.
Oh no.
Stop it, Graves. But no, you're able to get them with this unexpectedness, and because of that, it helps you. It can make you win games that you really have no business winning. So it helps alleviate some of that skill difference, and it's something that card games I think are very unique in, is that there is the skill level of the player, but then there's also the skill level of the deck that the player is bringing with them. So it's really cool to have the balance between the two, and I think that taking an original deck that people aren't expecting really raises that skill level of the deck that allows you to carry you into games that you wouldn't have otherwise been winning.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. I also agree.
All right. Well, on to our next topic of discussion. So we have some, thoughts. Swim, do you want to actually lead the this topic?
Oh, which one? I don't know what one it is.
Oh, and he's the one sending out all of these topic discussions.
Well, I don't. Nobody said anything about an order. I thought you were just kind of
Swim,
picking
on
an
the
order.
list of topics that you sent me, I'll give you a clue. It's the one we haven't done.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's it's been more or less stated by the devs. Now, I'm not. I don't know if this was kind of confirmed or hinted at, but it's been hinted at that Northern Realms would see some changes, right? Like, I mean, it has seen changes. It used to be, it had its faction identity in some ways cemented in Resurrections, and that got very much changed with the change to Baron and Field Medics, etc. Um, and it's going to be moving in a new direction. I think I'm not. I mean, and we should.
All right, so our topic is if Northern Realms is getting a rework, what would that look like? And I will agree with Swim so when you think of the different factions, a lot of them have some really core identities to them. You look at Skelligan, you're like, man, they want to discard things and they want to raise things. You look at Northern Realms, you've got Spy, or not Northern Realms, you got Nilfgaard. They both start with N. They tricked me. But you look at Nilfgaard, they've got Spies, they've got Reveal. Like these are very core to their faction identity. And then you look at Northern Realms, and they've got gold cards. I guess it makes sort of sense because we do have from Northern Realms is where most of the games are have these unique characters and main characters towards these stories, so they kind of translate into normally being gold cards. So I can see the relation there. And then for a while they had this weird like medic resing thing with field medics, Lubberkin being an additional medic, Nanaki, Shani, lots of raises and res chains in Northern Realms. So you look at the faction identity, and that one kind of got taken away, and so their only thing left is kind of golds and really basic beginner-friendly cards, I guess. Because you look at their bronzes, and it's a bunch of, well, I guess that this is a card game, and this is like the standard card. It's kind of dull in a way, and I'd like to see that personally. I would like to see that get changed. I want to see something spice up Northern Realms again and make it really cool. And I think we've seen it kind of going that way. Maybe they get more of this machine archetype behind them. They do have trebuchets and siege towers and ballistas and reinforce all of those as well. But you've got a little bit of siege, a little bit of machine archetype. So I'd like to see some more things with that archetype. And we have seen the first of that printed with the Kid Winnie Siege support, buffing specifically machine units. So I think that's kind of cool. I'd like to see that go in another direction. But I'm really curious what everyone else thinks of for different directions that faction can go. Graves, any idea?
Well, yeah. I really like the Northern Realms cards that kind of focus into unit promotion buffing. So something like a weenie deck, a bunch of small units, you put them together, you buff them, you make them like into a huge army, you promote the, poor infantry and stuff into knights and then into noble. This entire kind of Northern Realms feudal system, I would like that. It keeps the simplicity of the faction. When I say simplicity, it's really friendly towards new players. It's interesting to play. You're buffing stuff. You just give it flavor. It's basically what they're doing now. You just give it more flavor. That's literally what I think the faction is missing. And kind of we've been talking about how they have this a lot of stuff. They had Resurrection. They've had this golden stuff. They were basically a jack of all trades. And I kind of just want them to focus on a few things. As you said, let's say machines and these weenies. I think that would be fine. Maybe change or tune up a few of their more boring units. And when I say boring, I mean less flavorful. I think that could be really fun. Not just for beginners, but for some of us as well. I love weenie decks.
Yeah, me too. I 100% agree with that. I think I want to see more token gameplay. So there's been a couple of mechanics put in where I looked at them and I was like, why the hell aren't these Northern Realms cards? One of them was Hawker Smuggler. I was like, that to me reads like a Northern Realms mechanic, but never mind. Why is it Scoia'tael? Anyway, and then I want to see token decks. I want to see cards like Margarita and cards like Vez really actually have more breathed into them, because when when Gwent first came out, those two were like two of the core cards in any Northern Realms deck, and nowadays they're just largely completely parred. But yeah, I'd like to see more token stuff. I'd like to see cards that work off having lots of units. Basically, even cards with passive abilities, which is something that we haven't seen yet. But if they do put them in, that could be Northern Realms' thing. Basically, I think basically cards that give like +1 to all units on a row passively. Then you can keep dropping them, and you can keep dropping tokens because you need that sort of passive effects for tokens to really work. So we'll see. I don't know. I like token decks. But then again, I play like black-white in Magic the Gathering, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that can be done with the promoting mechanic. Actually, I would like to see what I would like to see as a unit that was basically a reverse Kid Winnie Sergeant. Just promote tied to a unit, because promote the spell is it's clunky to really get value out of unless you're just getting the siege towers.
Yeah, it's also like Nilfgaard got Adrenaline Rush on a body, so why can't Northern Realms have Promote on a body, pretty much?
Yeah, that kind of thing. And maybe it would have to be like 4 strength. It's possible even that throughout testing somehow that's found too strong and it should be 3 strength. But it would be really cool. Because, I mean, there's just a lot you can play around with that. I really like the idea of like gold and non-gold kind of dichotomies, and being able to utilize tools such as Bork and other things that really reward you for having a high density of gold units. I don't know. I'd be very interested in just seeing more with that kind of thing for sure, and maybe possibly a slight tweak to the faction ability. Although I don't think it's underpowered. I just think
somebody in my what do you guys think of this? Somebody in my chat, just because you said faction ability, just reminded me. Somebody suggested a new faction ability for Northern Realms, which I was initially like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Their faction ability is probably the most boring in my opinion, and it also breaks the balance of like neutral gold cards. But anyway, I was like, what they said was if you played 3 of a card, they'd self-promote. And I was like, oh god, that would need a lot of redesigning, but actually sounds quite cool. Like, if you play the full set of 3 bronzes of a card, they auto-promote. And then you can play so many more gold synergy cards.
Well, do they still get the +2, or just that's all they do?
No. That's their new faction passive. Okay. They just go to gold.
I was gonna say I don't want to see these Temerian foot soldiers come out as just a
bunch
of
that'd be pretty scary. They'd be bronze witches, but they just go to gold if you've got all 3. And I was like, there is so much redesign that would need to be done for that. But actually, it's quite a fun mini game for Northern Realms to have, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they need stuff like that, in my opinion. Like, I can't remember who suggested that. It was somebody in my chat. But I looked at the idea and I was like, there's so much wrong with that. But at the same time, it sounds quite fun. So
yeah, there would definitely need to be rebalancing. But I actually quite like that idea. I honestly really do. Like, something like that could work very well if we saw some redesign. But I mean, if we are to see a redesign of the faction ability, either way, whether it's that or something else, there definitely would have to be a lot of tweaks to the faction cards.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think it's definitely something that I really hope to see is something fun, right? But that's why I'm playing a card game. That's why I'm playing Gwent, is because I want to have fun. So having something come out it's one of those things where we are in closed beta, so we can make big changes to things and be like, oh no, like, wait, remember way back in closed beta when such and such was like this, and we move on from that. We make these changes that are better for the game in order to make it more entertaining, and I won't use fun again, but to make it
and fun.
Yeah, but make it a better game overall. So I think that we're in a good state right now to be able to experiment with this sort of idea, and I'd like to see something cooler, because right now you just look at Northern Realms and my issue is that they just seem kind of dull. So I want to see that changed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had a lot of fun recently with my big boy Northern Realms deck, just to remind myself that actually there is a faction buried in there somewhere, so I'd like them to dig it out a little bit more for sure.
All right, well, we're at that time of the show again where we like to open it up to any viewer questions. Anything that you guys in the chat, just throw it on @Gwentlemen so that it pops up nice and easy for me to read. But anything that you want us to discuss, any questions that you have for us, go ahead and let us know, and we'll go ahead and discuss it. And in the meantime, we'll have just an awkward silence.
Yeah, let's all just stare at the floor.
I honestly, I personally love awkward silences.
They're underrated.
Yeah, they're great.
Will weather ever be balanced? No. Next question.
Weather is such a fundamentally hard mechanic to balance, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever will be. I was only half memeing there. I think weather will either be the best control mechanic in the game or not worth playing. I think it will be one of those two, and it'll just switch around every now and again when they make a balance change. In my opinion.
You might be right, although I do think that throughout the last several changes they made to weather, I mean, when it goes back to making first light a card have the rally option instead of just dead clear skies, and the row effect and the buff effect, I think all those changes were independently very major steps in the right direction. You might be right, though.
The thing that worries
it's
me,
a really tricky mechanic.
This is an unpopular opinion. I'm fully aware most people will disagree with this. I mentioned it earlier with symmetrical effect. I cannot stand the thought of more cards like Coral going into the game. I just think one-sided weather is fucking hilariously dumb. I really despise it so much.
Yeah, I agree. And in Skellige too, it's pretty funny because you have a lot of boats and rain immune and fog immune stuff. It's honestly not even that purposeful in Skellige to make it one-sided.
I mean, I think that Coral is fine with the latest changes, but
a lot of people do. Like, I'm fully aware most people disagree with me on that one. It's just a personal thing. One-sided weather, I don't like it.
What I dislike about the weather the most is that it's such a powerful last turn play. I'm gonna avoid using the T word.
I think I think the biggest problem Gwent will face forever, basically, is the last turn. Like, having one card advantage makes so many cards in the game completely OP. Look at D-Bomb. Like, if you have card advantage and you're against Dwarf Hybrid, congratulations, you've won. If you have D-Bomb in hand, you have won. Unless you get horribly wrecked. Like, and I'm not saying it's unsolvable. I don't think it is unsolvable, but I certainly think that they're going to have a tough time dealing with it. Because the last turn in the game is more powerful than... It was a problem in the game I made that the last turn was too powerful. In Gwent, it's like 5 times as much. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's just a fundamental design aspect of Gwent is that card advantage will always be important, and they can try and mitigate that in ways, and I think weather is probably one of those steps to take, because it's one of those things where I think that CDPR has done a fantastic job of taking what was just a side game. It was just meant to be played against computers, and it was never meant to be this big of a game. And they've taken it and they've tried to make sure that they kept the identity of the game and kept the feel and the soul of the game, but make it into this more competitive experience where you are having a more balanced experience against another human being as opposed to just the computer all the time. And I think that there are some lingering aspects from that standalone, the side game in The Witcher 3, that are fundamentally hard to balance, and if not impossible to balance. And I think we saw that with Decoy. Decoy was a bronze card that you could run 3 of, and it did the just bring the card back to you.
Was it actually?
Yes, so was Scorch.
Yes, Bronze Scorch, never forget.
Yeah, I remember Bronze Scorch. I heard that.
Yeah, but you could run 3 decoys and 3 Scorches, but you have cards like this that exist in the first place, and they're part of how the game was played, so you want them to stick around, but their effects are just very hard to nail down balance-wise, so if you want to try and expand on this at all. So I think that you have this inherited design flaws that they're working to correct, and I'm hoping that they do something with weather in the same vein that is able to keep the spirit of weather, but do something with it, and maybe try and I don't know. I don't know. I hope that they can come up with something better than I am. I am not a designer.
Yeah.
Well, Thing is, CDPR has been removing and tuning all the really high strength swings from the game. They've been really good at it. If you just think 2 patches back, the kind of broken stuff you were able to achieve with the old Dandelion, then with the Horn, and so on, they're just working in a direction where the oscillations you can achieve with a one play are just smaller. And once you just do that further and further, last play is going to be less and less important. And I think that's a good thing.
All right, well, let's go ahead and pull up our next viewer question. I already asked Swim this question earlier. But I heard CDPR will be at PAX East, which will be like in 8 days. You think this is where they will announce the date of the wipe/open beta and more new stuff? Also,
he asked me on the channel.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think if we get to even like halfway through March and we don't have an open beta date, I'm gonna be surprised. Yeah. If I had to guess, and I have no idea, I'd say it's a good chance. PAX East gets quite a bit of coverage. It would be a nice place to do it.
Yep. I like the guess as well. It makes sense to me. Although I don't really know what really goes down at those PAX things.
You mentioned that you don't have any idea because they don't tell us. We most of this talk show is just us spouting our own nonsense. So you're fine.
Good. That's what my stream is based around. So good.
But I do think that it would be a pretty good opportunity for them to have a lot of publicity. I mean, these things get a lot of coverage, so it would be a date to look out for, I'd say, to see what they're planning on doing. But only 8 days away, not too far away. On to our next one. What about making a Sergeant toggle gold on any card, maybe 4 strength? So instead of having the Kedwini... Wait, is it Kedwini? It's normally Kedwini for these types of things.
Yeah, Kedwini, yeah.
For the Kedwini Sergeant, instead of making him just de-guild something, have an additional effect either to him or to have a lower strength card that just toggles all the time.
It's probably too strong. I mean, I was thinking. I mean, basically, I was thinking about the idea I was saying, which is, some number of strength, promote a friendly card. Although this could be contingent on like a faction ability rework, but in terms of like being able to do both, it might be a little too strong at 4 strength. I love the idea though. I don't know. I really like this whole playing with promote thing. It's really great.
All right.
What does everyone else think?
Sorry, I didn't really chip in because I pretty much just agree with Swim. I think it's probably too strong, but I would like to see more things that play with it. So it's a tough one.
Yep.
I'd like to see that effect on a silver card. Honestly, I'd like to see a bronze card that can do what Cade when he does in reverse and promote something attached to a enter the battle effect. And I'd like to see a silver card attached to a unit that can do both. I don't know what strength it would be at, but silver sounds much better for that. That actually sounds good.
Yep.
I'm just generally a huge fan of any sort of effect stuck onto a creature. I think it just feels so much better playing than just playing a spell.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
You can either play this special, or you can play this special on a stick. I'm going to choose the stick.
Exactly.
I'm okay with spells that aren't attached to creatures, but only in Squirtle where they are attached to creatures.
All right, well, our next question, should CDPR add a deck tracker alongside the card log? So, for those who are unaware, you can check it out. It's made by a good friend of ours, Buffy. The Gwent Tracker, I believe it's just Gwent hyphen tracker, or is it Gwent Tracker? Just Google Gwent Tracker. I'm not going to try and give an actual URL. But there is a unofficial third-party Gwent Tracker, deck tracker available. It is not endorsed by CDPR, but they are aware of it and they are accepting of it. So just use at your own risk. It's not their product. But what if they did try and make their own thing? Have a built-in deck tracker? Graves, any thoughts on that one?
I think that's just completely up to them. CDPR has always been a company that supported modding of their games, so I think that leaving this up to the community is a good thing as well. I don't see any necessity for them to build it into the game.
Yeah, I'd go as far to say as they shouldn't, basically. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because from a moral standpoint, it is against a lot of, not rules, but it is an unfair advantage. I mean, sure, you could be sitting there and doing the same with a notepad and pen, but the fact of the matter is, and everybody knows it. I use Deck Tracker, by the way. I should preface with that. When I'm recording or streaming, I use it because I know people want to see the information on stream, and it's really useful for streamers. But it is an unfair advantage. It 100% is. You could be sitting there and doing that with a notepad and pen, but you're not. You're having a program automate it for you very, very easily as well. And it does provide huge game knowledge. I mean, you could argue that you can check your graveyard and check your hand, blah, 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 and you'll know what's left in your deck, but that's relying on a huge amount of memory and learning of your deck. And in reality, it makes it easier to get good results with your deck. So I view it as an unfair advantage. They 100%, they should allow it because it's going to happen, but they should never ever put it into the game officially. Is my standpoint on it.
Well, if they were to put it in the game, then it no longer becomes an unfair advantage because everyone has it kind of.
But it just shits on the spirit of a card game. I think it looks weird to have in game.
It did sound like I was disagreeing with you. I absolutely wasn't. I think it shouldn't be in the game. There's kind of no reason for it.
Well, I will actually go ahead and sort of disagree. Uh-oh, drama. No, so I, perhaps infamously at this point, do not use the Gwent Tracker on my stream, and I keep getting asked about it all the time because people are like, oh, you don't use Deck Tracker, why not? I have my reasons, and people know. But it's one of those things that deck trackers, especially with how prolific they have been in other card games, it almost becomes like a part of the game at this point. And I would personally like to see one implemented by CDPR, not necessarily because I think that they should, but more because they're able to then provide the deck tracker support and that quote-unquote unfair advantage to console players. If you're playing on Xbox, you don't have access to this. And I believe that they wanted to expand to PS4 as well, so there are people who are going to be playing this game that...
That is a extremely good point. Yeah. It's a very good point, I agree. Which means... But you see, this is going to be controversial. Here we go. The problem is, would I rather see it officially in-game or just banned? I would probably rather see it banned. Because it's ridiculous. Like, it's going to be updated, I'm sure. I don't know the guy who makes it like you guys, but it's going to get to the point where there used to be a Hearthstone one that would tell you, like, I think it still does, tell you the percentage chance of drawing each card and everything like that. Like, it's ridiculous, and it just ruins the feeling of a card game. So I would honestly rather see it banned than officially in the game. I wouldn't even be that upset if it was banned, to be honest. But I literally use it on stream at the moment because if somebody joins halfway through a game, it immediately provides them a reference point. But playing personally, I don't play with it. I don't really enjoy using it particularly. But yeah, people will disagree with that, and that's fine. But that's my personal opinion on the matter.
No, that's perfectly fine. Again, like my personal opinion on it, people use it. Some people use it, some people don't, and I'm okay with either camp that you choose to be in, because I don't know. It's one of those things that it does definitely. Coming from a physical card game background, those things just did not exist. If you wanted to do it, it's pen and paper. That being said, in a tournament setting, I think if we could ever get a physically two people in the same location doing a tournament, then I would not want to see it, because I feel like that really, you're trying to get for the spirit of a card game, and I think that Merchant hit it on the head where it just doesn't really fit the spirit of a card game. And whenever you're trying to have these big tournaments with trying to have these cool moments, it really detracts from that experience.
But I was one of those people that before Deck Tracker just sat down with a notebook and a pen, and I wrote the important information down. If the Deck Tracker gets banned, we're just gonna go to the same thing. You basically take notes on the important stuff. You can keep track of most of your units by head, just like Necker stuff, how many's been added, how many's been played, and it takes no time. It's just a minor inconvenience as opposed to the Deck Tracker. But I do get that it's an unfair advantage towards the console players.
Yeah, I actually, until Dale, you mentioned it there, I really hadn't considered the old console plebs. Like that's going to be really rough for them. Jeez. Genuinely, top 1,000. I assume we're all like in top 1,000 here, right?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So like top 1,000 players. How many of the top 1,000 do you reckon don't use Gwent Tracker?
One.
Like.
Well, Aya doesn't either, so it's 2 at least.
Well, there's at least like 30 players in the top 1,000 that are Xbox players.
At least 30.
Nah, well,
3%.
yeah, that's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad actually, considering they're playing Xbox, but it must be a huge amount of people using it. Like.
Yeah,
so the console players
very
are
very high on the top end, but realistically, probably not high elsewhere. I don't know. I mean, for me personally, I know I can't play without Deck Tracker. I'm terrible. So sometimes on stream, my Deck Tracker will fail to launch, and I'll not notice, and I'll launch a game, and I have really hard times winning those games. I can't remember all the cards on my deck. These are decks I've sometimes played for weeks, and sometimes like written guides for that detailed the specific purpose of every card, and I still can't remember all the cards sometimes. I wonder what my win rate is with those games. I wish Deck Tracker could tell me what my win rate was when I didn't use Deck Tracker.
That's another really good feature of the Deck Tracker. It's the win ratio. Before that, I had a really elaborate Excel table for it, but I showed it to a few people. But it was just really annoying to fill it out every time, like who went first, who won, what deck archetype it was, then adding new archetype. It was a huge nuisance, really.
Yeah, I think tournaments would ban it. I agree with Ruben in the chat. There's no way tournaments would allow it. Not saying that that's right or wrong. Just from precedent of many other games, third-party tools are just no. Like, as somebody who's played competitively in a few games, not anything like super seriously at LANs and stuff, mainly StarCraft 2. Anything third-party is just like, no. Like, no. You play on the vanilla client, and normally they even like give you the mouse and shit you'll be using. So
Graves to clarify, official CDPR tournaments, not ours.
Yeah, exactly. So official tournaments won't be allowing it.
I mean, we would probably do the same. We would adopt the CDPR practice if there was literally any way for us to enforce the rules, but it's absolutely not possible. Not realistically, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we could have each person submit their video recording of their match, and we could base it off of them. But I'm pretty sure that if anyone is able to tamper with the Deck Tracker in any way, he's able to remove that from the video as well. And you've only achieved that the people who would have not used it or would play fairly are at a disadvantage.
We'll just wait for Xbox Friend matches to be a thing, and then only play on Xbox.
It's funny, the first time I ever played Gwent actually was at Gamescom in August 2016. And it was on an Xbox. And I was just like, I think the first thing I did, I sat down, there's this really pretty Priscilla cosplayer, sort of like helping people get set up and stuff. I think the first thing I said was, "Oh God, it's on Xbox," and they were just like, "Yeah."
All right. Well, I think we have
Only time ever played.
Here we go. A nice lowball, easy question for us. How old are we? So I'll start because I just had my birthday last Friday. I just turned 25.
Hey, happy birthday!
Thank you.
I'm 24. There you go. I turned 24 in January. If you're really interested.
I'm 25.
Hey.
I'm 23.
So young.
Well, that is a remarkably close-aged group. Jesus,
Actually, yeah. All right. Well,
that's quite impressive. We have like a year between us. Didn't see that one coming.
All right. So back to the more serious ones. How do you play Yennefer the Conjurer aside from removal? So, I'm assuming that he means in a deck that's not based around heavy control and just throw her in there?
To be honest, to an extent, depending on what rank you're at, I'm not talking super big boy rank, but to an extent, like, you can put her in any deck and she will work. Like,
Yeah.
how do you play Yen Conjurer? You put her in a deck and then you play her in round 2. That's pretty much the answer to that.
It was probably the question was how do you play against her?
Oh, how do you play against her? You play Radovid.
Oh, there we
That
go.
or
Oh, yes, I think Grace got it. So how do you play around her aside from removal?
Pump
Then-
power into
Counter.
one unit. Pump power
Yeah.
into one unit, and then that unit will just tank 1 damage shots over and over again. It's the simple answer to that. Constantly make sure you're staggering your unit strength. Don't let them line up, and you actually won't struggle with it too much.
Yeah.
it's still going to provide a lot of. It's almost always going to provide a huge
She's
value
still
to
an
the
insane
opponent.
card. Yeah.
But that way, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, consume monsters generally don't have a problem with her. I'm not sure about dwarves. I haven't really played them much.
I mean, what you can do is you can basically get out of the round quickly, right? Which can be done in one of two ways. Like, let's say they play Yennefer Conjurer turn 1, and then let's say you're Skellige. Skellige enjoys getting out of round 1 early, so they play you play Donar, and then they're forced in a really awkward position because they can either allow you to play 2 cards and beat them by passing, or they can play 1 more card and allow you to pass and go into round 2 with 2 cards down. So that's a very easy way of getting out of round 1 very quickly. Alternatively, you can play a very high tempo move. The go-to is Witchers right now. So like they play Yenkon, you play Witchers, and then if they can't keep up with your score, which like in many situations they wouldn't be able to, then you're good to pass and force an extra card out of them.
I think it's part of the problem with her, though, is that whenever the way of like playing around her is to just be like, oh no, they win that round. You're starting to play for card advantage instead. So I think that as far as ways to play around her, it really is chose to certain decks can function by just not caring that she's there. Typically, like, you just want to make sure that you have something that is higher strength than the rest of your cards, and if you have to play a little differently in order to do that, that's typically your better option. Are we worried that a minimum 25 cards in a deck is too small for a deck size, and should it be upped?
Nope.
Yeah, I've said things about this before in the past. Quite infamously, got more than a few angry comments about it. But yes, the deck size is too small. It is. It's too small.
Would you argument those claims?
Best deck this patch, or one of the top decks this patch, discard Brand, because you can play your entire deck. Best deck last patch, Scoia'tael Siri Dash, because you can play your entire deck. There are so many examples where basically every top tier deck. So every top tier deck at the moment works off of one or two things. One, it either circumnavigates Gwent's card resources, so it plays resilient units or Neckers. And the other one is you can play the entire deck, and that's like discard Skellige and stuff like that. And that basically, when the deck size remains so small, and there's so much deck thinning in the game's going to be solved over and over again every patch, in my opinion.
But you're always going to have those mechanics. Like, if you increase the deck size,
have those mechanics,
you're just going to make the problem bigger. The decks that are able to provide more deck thinning than the others are, again, going to have even more consistent hand than the ones that can't.
But the problem is, it's not a high consistency problem at the moment. It's a 100% consistency problem. Like, my Skellige deck works so well because I can guaranteed play any card I want in that deck every single game, basically. And that's
Yeah,
the problem.
but
If I put it
you
up to 30,
sacrifice absolutely all interactivity of the deck by doing so, and there's ways for the opponents to exploit that as well. And I actually think that that's a good thing. You basically sacrifice one aspect of your deck to achieve another one. And I think it's a good thing. And I think that Discard Skellige is in a good place right now. They run a bunch of the cards that are suboptimal in order to achieve that. And I don't see how that is a
what
problem.
cards do they run that are suboptimal?
Well, for instance, the Clan Demon Pirates.
Yeah, but they're not meant to be a unit. They're just a thin. Like the actual unit is irrelevant.
They dedicate units to deck thinning.
Yeah.
Units that would otherwise
But
not
my
be
problem
played.
is it works so remarkably well. Like deck thinning is usually good when it can increase the chance that you'll get to your win conditions. The problem of it at the moment in Gwent is deck thinning guarantees you draw your win conditions. There's a key difference there. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just watching Swim's camera. This is beautiful, but yeah, like the problem is, like deck thinning will always be a thing. You are right, and you will always trade off for deck thinning. That is also true. The problem is, deck thinning should help you win. At the moment, deck thinning wins the game for you. It's crazy. Like I posted my stats of my, I posted my stats of my Queensguard deck. It was insane. Like deck thinning is so efficient. Look at Siri Dash last patch. Like that made so many people take hiatuses from the game. It was so bad.
No, I think that there's a certain amount of thinning that is welcome, and there's a certain amount of thinning that is too much. Because one of the things that I do like about Gwent as a whole is that there's not a whole lot of big swingy RNG to it, and I think that if you look at any card game, inherently there's RNG because you can't guarantee that, I want this card specifically right now. You can't normally guarantee that all the time. There's some risk that doesn't happen. But there is that point that you get to where it's like, man, I really want like this card round 3. Well, there's certain decks that are like, oh no, you have that card round 3. We can completely guarantee that you have this card round 3. So as far as would I like to see the minimum raised? I'd like to see it raised personally. If only to experiment with it. We're in I mentioned it earlier, we're in a closed beta. We can make these types of changes.
I think they should just put a test realm live where the minimum deck size is 30 and we can all go play it.
But I have another really important argument here. Like you guys are literally arguing to make decks less consistent. Instead of allowing other decks to see more of their deck, to basically increase the chance the deck building skill and the skill of playing those cards has a greater impact, you're putting more faith into actually drawing the correct cards. And that is a horrible thing for the game as a whole.
But it's not, because at the moment you're arguing for rock, paper, scissors. You're arguing every deck should be able to play its tactic 100%. That makes the game rock, paper, scissors. Like, you might as well not play the card game, because what counters what will win.
Assuming that we have at least a rough, balance of the decks, it does not count rock, paper, scissors. It's just going to come to who outplays the other person.
But it's not, because counters happen. Look at D-Bomb and Dwarf Hybrid. Like, if you have D-Bomb, you pretty much beat the Dwarf deck. If you don't, you lose to it. And
but
that's going to happen more.
There is the way Dwarf deck is built. That build would not occur if you were able to reliably counter it. The entire problem of that is that the strength, the row stacking is so efficient exactly because there's the opponents cannot reliably counter the mechanic. And if you guarantee that the opponent is going to have a D-bomb when he needs it, the entire archetype falls apart. And it pushes the entire deck creativity into a place where choosing the cards, not just proactive. Right now, the name of the game is proactivity. Most of the top decks are proactive.
Yeah, 100% they are.
Control is almost non-existent because it cannot exist in an environment as this. They are too dependent on drawing the correct cards, and it's just impossible for them to work. I mean, there is there's some Nilfgaard control and some Radovid control.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
because
there's the Hansel one as well.
Because they tag them to counter those decks. But the thing is, they're going to run into another one. Yes, they're going to just lose. And that is because right now it's either they're going to draw the correct cards or they won't, and they lose to it.
Yeah. And the less efficient the tempo decks are, the more efficient the control decks are. Because they can control them. Whereas at the moment, the tempo decks run so well That there's no point running. Like, what is the point in running Alza's Thunder when you know the person's going to draw 3 Hawker healers? Like, you can't stop the tempo right now because the decks are so efficient, and that's why every deck in the meta is just huge huge strength creatures. That's all it is, and it's because of this efficiency. It's why control doesn't exist, except weather, because it's the overriding control mechanic.
Definitely a divisive topic.
No, it is. It's a really interesting topic to talk about. I really think it is, because I think it's one of the most important topics the game's facing right now.
I get really passionate about things like that. So,
yeah, no, me too. It's interesting. It's really interesting to talk about. Like,
I'm a huge like the thing that first attracted me in Gwent was that you were really able to reliably play out your deck, and I think it's a feature, not a problem.
I'm honestly inclined to agree. I think that thinning isn't actually the biggest problem. I think people really, really overrate thinning. Thinning is only a problem when your cards actually go from your deck to the board, like with Mercenary and Bran and etc. I think Graves is right that, I mean, decks like Discard Skellige are forced to use kind of cumbersome cards. I don't think Clan Demon Pirate is a particularly good card. In fact, I think it's pretty terrible outside of the Warlong Ship synergy.
See, I've never run Warlong Ships, but I run Demon in like every Skellige deck I make, because it's just -2 cards. It makes your deck 23 size. It's perfect. Like, that's such a powerful card. Like, it's
when we're talking about Skellige, I, for example, have dealt away with most of the deck thinning cards. Not completely, but for example, I skipped the Moon Pirates in order to just go for the, you call it the resilience, but basically, yeah, I agree that the keeping strength on board between rounds is important. So I just fully commit to buffing all geared, no, not buffing all geared, but getting all geared out, buffing Morkwarg, and then using certain cards like the Scald to basically force the opponent to play out his hand in round 2 and just take round 3 because I have huge units on the board. I think that I cut warships, I've cut pirates simply to more efficiently secure my win condition. And that's where I think that deck thinning is not the biggest problem right now. It's the resilient units and keeping strength on board.
I just worry about, like, the problem is, I think we're talking about it too much in terms of the current meta. I think, like, if we add any more deck thinning to the game, it becomes a huge problem again. Like, there's no arguing that Siri Dash wasn't a blight on the game, and that's because round 1 you could play your deck down to 2 cards. Like, it was insane. And I just worry that anything else gets added that takes it in that direction, it breaks the game again, basically.
But I think it's a trap in there as well. There are going to be, like, Siri Dash, I personally think should be changed. I don't think that it's good that she keeps returning into the deck no matter what. I don't know how I would achieve that. I haven't really thought about it. But I think that adding more deck thinning is a good thing, as long as it's a trap that players can fall into where they overthin your deck. I did that with the old Squirtle. I said that I have not built a really decent deck this meta, but I had a really unique Squirtle deck in the previous one where I just focused on disruption and deck thinning to a point where I've consistently completely emptied my deck in round 1, but still managed to win because Marjoram.
Because Marjoram.
Dude, I had a really unique meta last patch too. I would play Olgierd in round 1, and then I would play Elven Mercenaries to give him mutagens with Marjoram, and then I would use Blue Mountain Commandos to hit more mercenaries. And that I would win all my games in round 3 with my big cards.
All right, well, I think we have time for one last question, so I'm actually going to go ahead and pull this, because I'm choosing this one specifically because of the very first sentence. New to Gwent, are there not mid-range decks that by definition can beat tempo and control decks if played with superior skill? So I think we've talked about, we have these sort of tempo-y decks, and we use the term differently than I think other card games would. We have control decks as well, so for somebody coming over from Hearthstone, or I'm assuming that's an assumption, I could be wrong, but you have this idea of this mid-range thing that kind of like slowly, it doesn't start off as fast as some of the other decks do, but they get there. So where are these decks in Gwent?
I would say that you have to look at the very term mid-range and realize that you're talking about mid-range on the mana curve, and there isn't a mana curve in Gwent. So, no, we don't have mid-range decks. Basically.
The game is really new, and the entire terminology is pretty new. If you go to our website, there's 2 articles. One is control versus value, and the other one is tempo. That are kind of gonna introduce you to this very basic concepts. You should check it out.
Yeah, I personally recommend those as well.
Me and him are the authors of the articles, if you are guessing why.
Personally, I do think that mid-range sort of exists. The issue is that it just doesn't work out too well in Gwent, and my definition of like what a mid-range type deck would be is I think like Henselt Promote is a
yeah, that's
decent,
the one I was thinking of.
yeah, because it's all this setup. Like it doesn't start off by putting a bunch of power off on the board. You're playing some units, you're trying to set things up, and then once you've got that, then you're able to make these huge point plays. And the issue with those types of decks is typically that Gwent is a game that you have 3 rounds. It's not just, I need to smash my opponent's face in and win. It is, I have to figure out how to spread out all of my power across these 3 different rounds because I need to win 2 of them in order to win the game. And because of that, what opponents will often do is you're trying to get all the setup up, and then once you finally get there and they're starting to see that you're trying to get these big swings out, or they'll just pass. It's like, okay, well, if you want to keep playing into this and finish off the rest of your combo, I'm just going to go ahead and get a bunch of card advantage. And we discussed earlier that card advantage is such a huge, important part of the game because of the way that it is with the 3 rounds, and being able to play the last card in the last round, I think is one of the more important things that you can possibly do in this game that will win you most of your matches. So whenever you have these setups that eventually pay off, it's just too slow sometimes if your opponent just passes with a strength advantage on board. Sweat, any thoughts?
I also agree. I mean, in a way, you could call the value or tempo decks that are being run at top ranks, you could call them sort of mid-rangey because they could be leaned more towards like greed and value and stuff. But realistically, it's not quite the same. And it does seem like they're leaning more towards the value side of things than the control side of things.
Merchant, I think I cut you off. You were going to say something?
Oh, no, I just said I agree.
Okay.
I just agreed.
Graves, anything?
I've said plenty.
All right, I think that is going to be just about all the time that we have for you guys today. Thank you very much, everybody who tuned in and stuck around with us and chatted with us. But we do reach out. That's why it is as prevalent as it is. Like, we are keeping an eye on it. We don't think that we're ignoring you guys. Also, a big special thanks to Merchant. Thank you for tuning in with joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you ever want me back, just ask. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
We'll definitely look into that in the future. But for anybody who is not aware, Merchant did just recently make the switch to full-time content creator. So please check out his Twitch channel. Check out his YouTube. He's putting up a bunch of content. He wants you all to see it and give him money. But hey.
Give me your money.
But no, definitely check it out. It is quality content across the board. You can check him out at twitch.tv. Oh, wait, wow. All right, I've been beaten to the punch by our staff. So check it out in chat. Twitch.tv/rsmerchant and YouTube /c/merchanttv. I think I got that one right that time.
You have. Very good.
Sweet. In addition, we at Team Gwentlemen have our own website that we're putting up competitive articles for, so check us out at Gwentlemen.com. You can also stay tuned for our Gwentlemen's Open March. I believe we said March 20th?
25th.
25th, okay. So a new tournament being put on by us this month at the end of the month, so definitely check us out then as well. I think that's about all that I've got to say. Any send-offs, Graves?
Not this time. Just thanks for everyone that's been helping with the TGL. That's it.
Swim?
Oh, Dale, I have to confess, I've got nothing as usual.
All right, Merchant, any closing remarks?
Oh god, I feel under pressure now. Like and subscribe. And donate. No, thank you for watching, guys. Always a pleasure.
All right, we will see you all again next Thursday, same time, same channel, for another Gwentlemen Talk Show with another special guest. So hope to see you all again next week. Take care, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.